Hi, I'm Frank Gravis, and you're watching ForBassPlayersOnly.com.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to ForBassPlayersOnly.com, where old rockers who've still got it can learn bass and have all kinds of fun. We've got a great interview this week. An old friend of mine I haven't seen in I don't know how many years, Frank Gravis. He's played with everyone from Herbie Mann to Hiram Bullock, David Sanborn, Randy Brecker, Phoebe Snow, Bill Evans, Donna Summer, Otis Rush, Bo Diddley, and so many others. His recording sessions have included playing bass for the first two seasons of Sex and the City and the Rupert Holmes smash hit Escape, the Pina Colada song. Hello, Frank. How are you, my friend?
Hey, John. How are you doing? Good to
Good,
see you.
thank you. It's good to see you, too. The last interview we did was actually at the 2017 NAMM show.
I remember it.
And we talked about Herbie Mann, Hiram Bullock. I think I may have seen you once since then. I'm not sure if it was before or after that, but we ran into each other at one of those bass conferences in New York called Lords of the Low End.
I remember it. Yeah, it was over there, and it was at what was the cutting room. Yeah, the cutting room has since moved to a new venue, but yeah, it was there. I remember it.
Yeah, I was there a couple of times. And I remember also during our interview, we talked about Will Lee, and you two have something in common. You were both born, the reason I found this out, I did a search. I wanted to take a look at the interview that we did. So I went on ForBassPlayersOnly.com and I searched Frank Gravis. And of course, your interview came up. But one of the interviews I did with Will Lee also came up, and he mentioned you like 2-3 times. He said you two have the distinction of having been born in the exact same hospital in Austin, Texas. I think like 12 days apart.
Actually, it's San Antonio, and yeah, just he was born on the 9th, and I was born on the 28th. So we just kind of missed each other.
Yeah. Yeah, and then you both went from Texas to Miami, and you and I talked about the University of Miami, and we talked about Danny Gottlieb, and Jaco was your teacher, and he said you told me that Jaco told you if you wanted to be a great bass player, you shouldn't practice, but you should watch TV.
That is correct. Well, at the time that Jaco was teaching me, Jaco was he was, for lack of better words, he was kind of having trouble getting a gig in the Miami area because he was kind of a loose cannon, and so when he took the job, which was, by the way, he took the job at the University of Miami as the bass teacher, which Will Lee's father at the time was the dean of the music school. He did it because he kind of just needed to work, but he did not really want to teach, which made him not the greatest teacher. So, there was, now I've had a whole lot of years to think about it. And, he took that gig sort of begrudgingly. It's a special skill. It's not playing as much as it is, the ability to impart information. And he did not really know how to talk about, what he did, because it came to him naturally, So like I remember, I might have said this to you on our previous interview. I remember walking into a lesson with him one day, and he was playing this unbelievable stuff. I mean, just these arpeggios, and I stopped him and I said, "Jaco," and he kind of looked at me like I had slapped him. And I said, "Well, what are what you were just playing? Would you please explain to me what it was? What are you thinking about? What is that you're putting together?" And he looks at me and says, "I don't know. You just do it." And I was like, No, you don't just do it. Tell me how you got to tell me what it is that you're doing, what that, what your, the chords you're outlining and whatever. And he kind of couldn't do it, and that was just one example of the fact of his, this all just, his talent was sort of imbued upon him. It wasn't, he didn't he's I'm sure he studied to a certain degree, but he was just naturally gifted, and he didn't know how to really talk about his gifts. And when you're being hired to teach, that's one of the things you got to be able to do, is you got to be able to look at the students and know how, play and do whatever it is you do, but you got to be able to talk about it, and you got to be able to explain how you arrived at that, and explain how you do it, because that's what they're paying good money to learn how to do. It's a shame that he had to, that I met him under those circumstances, because I would like to have met him professional to professional instead of teacher student.
How about you, Frank? What's been keeping you busy these days?
Well, a lot of things. I just did a recording for a band called the Soul Collective. It's a recording we all did it in our respective homes.
That's
It was
the way we do things these days.
Yeah, it's a whole new way to record, and I mean there are certain advantages to it, and that I can sit here with my favorite cup of coffee and
Or your favorite cup of whatever.
yeah, well, it's coffee. Trust me, it's coffee, and and play in my own home. And there's a certain comfort level to that. But I mean, I do, I can't. I would be lying if I said I didn't miss the camaraderie of playing in a studio and all that. But yeah, I did this record. It's basically this particular recording was a recreation of Philly soul from the 60s and 70s, and it's a very accurate. All the songs are like radio length. They're like less than 3 minutes long, but the project has become a lot of fun, and we're working on the second album now, and it's more it's an homage to more modern. I get to actually play a jazz bass and slap. I've done several recordings for the leader, who's the guy's name is Steve Secchi, and I did a collection of Detroit soul that I used a precision with flat wounds. But this one I used it was a precision with round wounds, and it's a completely different sound, and a completely different personality. But yeah, the latest one was a jazz bass where most of them were the songs were all slapped, and that was a lot of fun. I enjoy doing that. I did that. I just did a show in Virginia with Tom Wopat, from the guy from the Dukes of Hazzard. He's actually a Broadway star and a very good singer and a really nice guy. And I've been doing and also I did some other recordings for an old friend who unfortunately recently passed away, Phil Ashley, and he was he played he was on the Rupert Holmes band after me, but I met him and worked with him when he was a jingle writer, and he was a very talented composer and a great keyboard player, and he was a nice guy. But like I said, he passed just recently. But he was in fact, we passed in the middle of our of the project. And since COVID, I mean, certainly my my workload has not been what it was, but that's fine. I'm very I'm very comfortable with that. But
Do you sing also?
I used to.
You've got quite a set of pipes there, man.
Oh well, thank you. In 2003, while on tour, I was mugged and I sustained a pretty serious injury to my vocal cords, so I can't really sing as I used to do. But yeah, I have been able to holler out a tune or two. But I used to sing quite a bit, but not like I used to since the injury.
You mentioned Rupert Holmes. I don't know if you get asked about this a lot, but I don't think I knew the last time that we did an interview that you played on that record, the Pina Colada song "Escape." So
Yeah.
So you were already a member of the band. You weren't just like a hired studio session.
I was a hired gun. Yeah.
You were.
When I did the recording, I was a hired gun, and then I was asked to do the tour, and I accepted. I wasn't, at the time that I did the recording for Rupert, I was playing with Herbie Mann, and I wanted to do something. I wanted to do something a little different, so I accepted the job with Rupert. And yeah, I did the tour, and I did a bunch of TV shows with him. I did Midnight Special and Don Kirshner's rock concert.
Oh
And,
God, I remember that. I love that.
Oh yeah,
Friday night.
Yeah. I used to watch it religiously, and yeah, I did all. We went to California a couple of times, and yeah, it was an experience. I remember we were getting ready to play the Roxy in Los Angeles, and just before we went on, we got the word that it went to #1 with a bullet on Billboard just before we were to walk on stage, and we were all just like, "Wow, that's really something." I mean, of course, I was like, I think, let's see, I was 27 when that happened, and that was, I was like, oh my God, this is the best.
I want to ask you about you. You have a lot to say about teaching and bass education, and the whole Jaco story. I want to ask you about the other side of that. For Bass Players Only, as you know, I think is an instruction site. And I've got people coming from almost every state in the U.S. and somewhere between 50 and 100 countries worldwide, coming to For Bass Players Only every day to learn bass. They're signed up for my lessons and my digital courses and things like that. Most of the people I attract are men in their 50s, 60s, 70s. You heard my reference at the beginning to old rockers. That's who's coming. They're old rockers who
guilty as charged.
I'm proud to be an old rocker, but I say that just for some context. They're not looking to set the world on fire or have a career in music. They just want to play some classic rock riffs, or maybe some blues shuffles or walking bass lines, whatever, get together with their buddies. They want to play bass and have fun. So in that context, I want to ask you, now that I've got the opportunity, what advice do you have for those people who want to learn to play bass? What do you think they should be thinking about? What do you think is important for them to know?
That's a great question, and this is how I would answer it. Music, first of all, is fun on all levels. I mean, if it doesn't matter if you're playing chopsticks on a piano or whatever. If you want to go out and play bass, go out and play. Find opportunities to play. Look for the opportunities that you just described, which are, go out and find a bunch of friends that have, that have the same interests and the same desires as you. And the other thing that I try to tell especially my students when I was teaching, is go out and try to play with musicians better than you, because that will up your game better than anything. open your ears, know what it is that you're going for. No, just have a picture in your mind of what you want to sound like, what you want. If you can't play what it is you hear in your mind's ear, woodshed until you can get it. Now, I can't, lessons and learning the rudiments of music is, of course, very important, which, your site is perfect for that. You talk about, I'm sure you talk about playing with good time and all of that stuff. That's incredibly important. You got to be able to lock in with the drums, and you have to be able to make them. It is between you and the drums. It is up to you two guys to make the music feel good. And in order to make the music feel good, you have to basically grooving is when you put it can be boiled down to this. It's playing as perfect metric time as you can, played with enthusiasm. That's what grooving basically is you're playing, you're both you and the drums agree perfectly on every note, where they should be placed, and what attitude that you need to take with what it is that you're playing, and know what it is that you want to sound like, and just work on it until you sound that way. I won't lie. It's, sometimes it's not easy. I can't tell you this as well as I do, John, that sometimes one of the hardest things to do is to play a repetitive pattern over and over and over again and play it perfectly every time. A lot of people would say, well, that's kind of boring. Well, no, that's your job. If that is what the music calls for, that is what you have to be able to do. Now, if the music calls for, you being able to improvise or whatever, you got to be able to do that as well, of course. But you got to be able to make the music feel good and make it, play the right thing all the time. You're like the drums. I mean, if you would listen to any drummer, what a drummer is going to sit there and play a beat, and it's going to sound repetitive, and it's going to be two bars or four bars repeated over and over again, and in certain genres of music, that it feels good if you don't play any fills, if you just play the beat. The same goes for bass. You gotta be there. You gotta make the music feel right. You gotta make the music, because it's up to you. Because if you don't make it feel right, nobody else is going to be able to save the music. It's not going to feel good unless you make it feel good. And if you make it feel good, the walls could tumble down around you, and it would still be feeling good. And then everybody else would, that's on everybody else. But as long as the drums and the bass are locked in, and between them, the music feels good. It's a beautiful thing.
Well, how about the future, Frank? What else is coming up?
It's hard to say. My career and life has been a series of surprises. I don't know what's going to happen, and at this stage of my life and career, I'm basically ready for anything, because I've still got a few years that left in me, and I want to try to play as much as possible, because I just love it.
I think you've got more than a few years. Phil Chen said to me one time, "I've still got a lot of notes in me." That was an awful Jamaican accent I just had, but if you could just imagine him saying it.
Yeah, I can actually. But that's kind of how I feel. I've still got a lot of, I still want to play, and I still love to play. And, for me, it's been the joy of my life for all my life since I was Well, I started when I was 16, and now I'm a lot older than 16, and I'm still loving it. I'm
You're
still
19.
yeah. You're very kind.
What would you be if you weren't a bass player? If you can imagine something outside of music.
I can't. I can't imagine it. I really fought very hard to become what it is that I became. I got a lot of in my early life. I got a lot of pressure of parental pressure to not do this. So I fought hard to do what it is that I do. So I can't see myself doing anything else. I really bucked the system. It was not just parental pressure, but peer pressure everybody was counting on me to fail, and I didn't. And I proved them all wrong. And that memory is, I wake up and I go to sleep with it every day. So I love what I do, and I fought for the for this, so I can't see myself doing anything else.
I bet there was a time when your mom was around the house singing the Pina Colada song.
No. Neither of my parents were very music. My grandfather would sing to me, and there was music in him, but my mother and my father, no, not at all. They really didn't. They weren't artistically inclined in the least bit, or at least not for music. And they especially started to get concerned when they saw how serious I was getting about it. They thought that they wanted me to go into business and to do the straight and narrow, and that's just not me. That's
Were
just not
they
what
okay with it once they saw that you nailed it?
they. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that because to the very end, they wanted me to. They thought I was gonna. They were counting on me just waking up and saying, "Oh, the hell with this! I'm gonna go out and put on a suit and be a businessman." To the very end, they thought that, and I said no. I just couldn't do it. That's just not me. Like I said, I fought for this, and and believe me, it was worth fighting for because I've thought about what it is that I would have done. I would have just been unhappy because this is what I want to do. This is what I've always wanted to do. So I fought for it, and it was worth it. And that's something else that you may want to impart. That I would also. I used to say this to my students too. I said, look, you can take it as far as your ambition and how, and as far as your ambition and as far as you want. It just depends on how hot the fire burns inside you to do it. And for me, nothing else mattered other than playing bass and taking it as far as I could take it. So that's what I ended up doing, and I have no regrets.
I can't think of a better note to end on, Frank. This has been fantastic.
It's great to see you. I'm honored. It's an honor to be on your show. It's an honor to talk to you, and I hope that I've stimulated or helped and or inspired some of the guys that out there. You had talked to me about some of the older guys that want to play and want to still do what it is, play bass and play music. It's a great thing, on any level. It's a wonderful feeling to make music with other musicians. And I hope I've inspired, whatever I've said in this interview, that I've inspired some of the older guys and some of the younger guys to keep it going and just to strive to be the best you can be. That just go out and be great.
Talk about inspiring people. You've inspired me. Absolutely. So thank you so much, Frank. Much luck.
Oh, it's
Success to you, and just keep doing what you're doing, and we will all continue to enjoy it.
well, thank you, John. As I said, it's an honor being on your show, and an honor to. I'm honored to be a part of it, and I hope to do it again sometime. I hope it's not like once every 4 years. I get to
me
see
too.
you.
Let's do it more often, and it's especially nice not to have to shout at each other like we do at a NAMM show. What'd you say? I said.
Yeah. I totally agree with that. This is a much more comfortable setting, and also it's not to mention quieter.
Thank you for your kind words, and the honor is mine. So thank you very much. You are all watching for BassPlayersOnly.com. Boy, what a great interview. Thank you so much, Frank Gravis. For BassPlayersOnly.com, remember that's where the old rockers who've still got it can come and learn bass and have fun. I hope Frank has inspired you. Like I said, he has certainly inspired me. I'm John Liebman, founder and first baseman of ForBassPlayersOnly.com. We'll see you all next week. In the meantime, let's play bass.